Hi, welcome to the Wild Horses channel. In today's episode of the Weekend Review, we'll show you 3 events that are relevant for cryptocurrencies, especially an interview of Jean-Claude Trichet about cryptocurrencies and other topics. And of course, we'll show you the main cryptocurrencies weekly chart. So stay tuned, we're starting right now. We start with Mr. Jean-Claude Trichet, former president of the European Central Bank. In an interview about several topics, he mentioned that Bitcoin, in his view, is bad and the institutions are complacent with it, having complacency, tolerating it, because it's a source of speculation and it does not hold the characteristics that the money should have. So in his view, it's not money and it is a source of speculation, which is, in his view, is bad. While saying this, Mr. Jean-Claude Trichet forgets that there is a pile of derivatives. In fact, just one bank, Deutsche Bank, has more than $50 trillion in derivatives over a balance sheet that's much smaller than that. And that number is just not outstanding because the American banks, namely JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Bank of America, have all about $40 trillion of derivatives each. So that is speculation, where you simply bet about the future value of any asset, and that is absolutely not considered. This type of interview is to build up the opinion of the general public about something, a tiny aspect of the market, which is the speculation over the price of Bitcoin and, say, the other cryptocurrencies. So they do not call the attention to all the transformation that the underlying blockchain and the usage of these coins can do, especially for the poor citizen that can keep his money out of the hands of the government, of which this citizen is part. So that is neglected in no way. So what we have nowadays is a distortion of the views of the general public by officials and former officials that are vocal about a tiny aspect and do not reflect this same tiny aspect in the system that they represent, meaning the fiat currencies that are absolutely fiatless, meaning there's no credibility in the dollar, in the euro, in the yen, in absolutely any coin nowadays, except the cryptos and the real assets, because you know what's behind. When you talk about gold, there's no talk about what's behind it. It belongs to zero government. The governments own it when they purchase a certain amount, but no government can issue gold. No government can issue silver. No government can issue Bitcoin, and that makes them with one less tools to control the population. So be aware of such. Also in United States, USA watchdog Greg Hunter interviewed Edward Griffin during this week about his views on the financial system, meaning that the system that we live nowadays was built for the banks by the banks, and that's dangerous. That's precisely the environment that we live in, and that explains the previous interview. But nonetheless, we end today turn in the news with an interview about WeWork. So WeWork has a special situation where they were valuated in $47 billion. Now they are reevaluated to around 10. Their CEO, Adam Neumann, was ousted, and the main fund behind them, SoftBank's Vision Fund, have paid additionally $200 million, as far as we got the info, to oust him. So, and of course take control of the company. Now basically what WeWork does, they rent huge areas of real estate and they sub-rent it or rent it once more. So that's basically their business model, and that was thrilled by communities and people that are enthusiastic because it's a startup, it's a revolutionary view. In fact, they had big problems generating cash flow, and recently it was found out, you can check on Zero Hedge, that they were cooking the books to show EBITDA, positive EBITDA. So there were 2 years, 2017, 2018, where they actually had losses and they were able to turn them in profits by using what we call non-GAAP practices. And what's that? GAAP means General Accepted Accounting Practices, especially in USA. And what that means how we do accounting the right way here. And they were using non-GAAP practices, so they could transform losses in gains. That's what they have been doing. Probably that helped kept inflated the bubble until now. And if that happened with one company, it might happen with others. During this week, Mattel have become public that they also had an accounting, let's say, mistake, and they saw it and they turned it around without disclosing it to the public. Now it was disclosed. And also McKinsey is investigated for their participation in the accounting of companies that went bankrupt. So if that is systemic, we add this to the pile where we have about 30 to 40% of the debt market, the corporate debt market, rated as BBB, which is the last degree of investment grade. If they are downgraded by the credit quality companies, mostly Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch, what happens is that many pension funds and other financial institutions cannot hold bonds of such companies if they do not have investment grade. So they'll have to massively sell them in the market. So stay tuned, that can be something systemic. We will watch that out and you watch it here. So we go now to the charts of the week. So we start here by Bitcoin in Tether, prices from exchange Binance on the tool TradingView, which is wonderful, free, and we recommend. So here we see that the downturn trend was breached by the prices during that last up move that we had from 7,300 to reach 10,000. We went back, but we're still in a weekly uptrend. So that's very important, and most important, we are above that downtrend line. That's keep us with the hope that prices can move up. We had a taste of this during this day. We believe this will happen more often, and we can, yes, try the 10,000 probably before the end of this year, which is not that far. That is our view. The uptrend is weekly uptrend is still on, and it is not strong uptrend. That means that the moves take time, so we need some patience to see it unfolding. Moving on to Ethereum, we see clearly the charts, the price are very much depressed, and we don't believe that it's priced for the DeFi, which is decentralized finance. It's absolutely unbelievable the level of high opportunities in finances, of distributed finances that can be delivered to the population through this platform. So we don't believe this is in the price because it's not yet understood by the market. So the upside of Ethereum are very strong, but right now we don't see a strong moving up. It needs to test and breach the 200 mark, and we believe in the next weeks this might be happening. We are near that, between 190 192 prices of Ethereum in Tether, so watch out for that. Moving on to Ripple, we see similar move. We remind you that Ripple is one of the most commercial coin that we have, and so it has a specialized team trying to get deals, and those deals will increase demand for the coin. However, there's an immense amount of Ripple and an immense pressure of selling each time it goes up, and that has prevented prices to cross the 40 cents up. So watch out for that. If they try crossing this downtrend line that we see here immediately in red, it's likely to turn over and turn back once they touch it. So stay tuned for that. We will be as well. And going on here, we see Litecoin, it breached the $60 up, and now at 64 we see reaching trying to get 76 and then 96 and then 120. So these are three important marks for Litecoin. What it was so on the way down, it was so on the previous way up. We see it relevant as well right now. So we see it now targeting 76, then 96, then 120. So watch out for that and stay tuned here. And of course, Bitcoin Cash, one of the most resilient coins, it lost the 280 in that strong move down. It recovered it and it's now trying the 320. We don't believe it's going to breach it, the 320, unless we see Bitcoin at 10K, at least near that. So watch out for that. We will be doing it. So it's important to realize that this is a strong trading range, and in trading range we buy the dip and we'll sell the peak. So be careful not to do precisely the contrary, where you buy the peak and it falls, and when it reaches the bottom you sell because you don't want to see it falling. But what it does, it reverses once more, but this time without you. And we finish here with EOS, which is no longer SOS. It with a very similar chart to Litecoin. However, it needs still to breach the 3.60, 3.75 resistance, and that is likely to make it to hold the prices for long until we see Bitcoin at 10K. Then it will breach it, then it can recover the 4, 5, 6 that it recently had. But right now we don't see that happening. So stay tuned. Most of those movements needs Bitcoin at 10K again. Thank you very much for watching us, for staying with us here. We come back tomorrow, all good with Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. Thank you very much for your audience. Stay tuned, sign up to our channel, and of course activate the notification not to miss our videos daily except on Friday. Bye.